Hey, it's Chris with Picks and Sticks, and I'm very excited today to have the Pinks with us, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
I'm Adam. That was Chance.
So a little disclaimer tonight: we have really bad storms here in Atlanta, and we keep having lightning strikes and power outages. So if we lose you, we'll pick up this interview another day, but hopefully we will get through this and. Looks like Chance might be coming back.
We'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh, there's
Just
Chance.
nobody say anything to scare Chance this time, okay? Everybody be nice.
Like, no, it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm having big weather problems here. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm in the studio, and you guys can still probably hear that thunder. But
And it's very dark and very heavy where I am, but there's not a lot of lightning and thunder yet. Even though it's supposedly about to get super heavy. Anyway, that's the weather. Back to you.
So let's get started with a little bit of your background of the band, how you guys got started, how you came up with the name and all that. That's interesting with the name. Yeah.
I don't know that it is. We'll let the viewers decide. So I moved here from Nashville in 2006, and I had been in a rock band called Less Honky More Talkies, and I had been traveling around the Southeast and beyond in a van with my friends playing rock and having, crazy stories happen to us, and I just kind of wanted to keep on doing that. So when I moved here, I started writing rock songs and putting together a band, and it's not a super duper revolving lineup, but you will notice that every few years we've got a couple of changeovers since we started, and that is strictly because I kind of think of this as serving in I don't know, like the rock armed forces, and when you're done with your tour of duty, you can go off and go back to your regular life or whatever you want to do, but don't hang around and hate it. So I just try to keep enthusiastic, rock loving people in the band. And boy, oh boy, that is absolutely what we've got right now. A few years ago, almost half the life of the band ago now, Chance McCall joined on guitar after we had done some shows with me backing him up. And it was, I don't know that Chance and I find a good fit for each other very often. I like being in power trios, where I'm the guitarist, and then all of a sudden there's this other guitarist that he's got it going on, and he knows where to step on my toes and when that's appropriate. Like, would it rock a little harder if we played over each other, or would it rock a little harder if we harmonized, or, sometimes I'll just stop playing and watch what Chance is doing. But for whatever reason, I feel like we've got good guitar chemistry. So Chance has been around for roughly half of the existence of the band now. And as far as the name, I got kind of used to being jokingly, much more jokingly in the old days, called a commie pinko, just because of being a social liberal in Nashville. And I started a band there that was completely unlike this one, called the Pinx, Pinks. And when I recycled that name after moving to Atlanta, our drummer Jim, without consulting anybody else, went up to the board behind the stage when we were setting up at the Star Bar. He erased the KS and replaced it with an X and was like, "There, now I put my mark on the band, and that rocks harder." And I was like, actually, that looks right, because it's not a color anymore. It doesn't mean anything. We get to define what that is,
That's
So,
awesome.
Is that interesting?
Yeah,
Was
no,
that,
that's
is that
good.
an
That's
interesting
good.
answer?
So, little point you brought up about Chance and you. You have two guitar players, but the good thing is I think that kind of pushes you guys, right? I mean, so you're pushing each other to make yourselves better, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
go ahead.
I'm
Well, what I was
not
gonna say
going.
is where.
Go, Chance.
Please. All right. So what I was going to say is, apologies for the audio. I have usually very reliable internet, but this storm is a mess. So I'm on my phone. I think as Adam mentioned, what drew me toward him was such different voicings than I would do, such different ways he would tackle a chord or a phrasing or a solo. And also, I found things that he played very interesting and very unlike what I would have thought of. And so it turns out that I think our styles are different enough to where they're very compatible with each other. And I learned a lot of new things to play to fit within what he's looking for, and then vice versa. And we can do all kinds of cool harmony stuff as well. So it definitely pushes, especially of late. Adam, during this the COVID-19 pandemic, has been more creative than I've ever witnessed anybody in my life. He's put out 3 solo records. We recorded, he mixed, produced a new Pinx EP, which has come out, and wrote 3 of the 5, and then the other 2 he and I co-wrote. So his stamp is as strong as it's ever been across all of the Pinx stuff. And he's in such a creative space that it really is sort of a joyful challenge to keep up, because I've had trouble, and a lot of people in this pandemic, it's sort of been, well, what's my fallback state? And my fallback state has often been, well, I'm sort of bummed about this. I just don't have the motivation or energy to want to be creative. But his has been the exact opposite. He has just said, I don't like this. This is difficult. This is unlike the way life has been. I'm going to pour all of it into the studio. I'm going to pour all of it into my instrument. And it's been unbelievable, the music he has created. And it's not only have we come out with an EP, but we've probably half written another record. I mean, it's just been a great challenge for me to keep up.
Yeah, I love your music. I mean, you have quite a few albums out, and that last album, it does definitely rock pretty hard. You guys did a good job on that. Yeah, you can hear
Thunder
that
for emphasis.
Oh, hopefully this is 2020 for you, right? So, and speaking of 2020, I know it's been hard. You guys probably haven't been, playing as much and gigging as much as you should, normally have been. How's that been working?
Go ahead, Chance.
Well, the year started great, actually. The year started with a lot of really fun shows. It ended really well. We had a great at the end of December. This kind of a yearly thing with Westin Motel and some other bands that we've had the privilege of being involved in, and with 529 down in Atlanta, when in the last couple of years they had remodeled and have a much bigger stage, bigger area. So we had a lot of great shows time period in Alabama and in New Orleans, and everything was really looking great. And then, of course, things happen. The only thing we've done has been a very socially distant outdoor festival around the 4th of July. And people were really good about space and stuff like that. And it was kind of a one-off thing. And I think we're now, just like everybody else, just waiting to see and supporting our local clubs as much as we can, and hoping that they can soon reopen.
Yeah, agreed.
So, when you got on 100.5, was that in 2020 or was that 2019?
Well, I think we went on a little while after Freedom came out in 2016. So that would have been end of 2016 probably, and then shortly after or right before Sisters and Brothers came out last year. So that would probably be, I mean, if Jackson's watching, you can feel free to correct us, but I think we've done that show twice.
Oh, nice.
The last time was probably spring of 2019 when Sisters and Brothers came out.
There you go.
And speaking of being on stations, do you have any good news on that?
Well, hey, Chance. I just, you know how I'll just tell y'all this as well. So the new EP, Electric, which came out 2 weeks ago, has gotten just, to me, by my standards, massive amounts of international radio airplay. And as of tonight, we can go ahead and add one domestic station to the mix. I just got a message a little while ago saying that we're going to be I forget the call letters, but we're going to be on the radio later tonight.
Nice, very nice.
Going to play Electric.
Yeah.
So do you find that you have more domestic or more foreign people playing your music?
Well, it's always been domestic. It's always been here. We've gotten a lot of like back with the first record and the first EP. We got a lot of support from Atlanta stations, like all of the college stations in town. And generally we were like a college station band, and that has slowly evolved as radio has, where we're kind of being approached by like rock DJs now that have like an unsigned show. So that's typically how it goes in the US for us. And then 2 weeks ago, a DJ in Scotland decided to hip his DJ friends that he knows around the world to our new EP, and like all of a sudden a whole new phase of our career has begun, where we finally made headway somewhere, other than the Southeast.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
It's slightly weird trying to accept that still.
Well, Scott Reeves has a question for you guys. Let's see. What is each of y'all what's your main rigs that you both are playing with?
Chance?
Sure. I have, in fact, you can probably see one of them. I have a couple of EDS 1275 double necks. I'm a lefty. They may be showing up as right-handed in here.
They're showing up left. I was messing with you earlier.
You're making me question my reality. I'm really kind of a Gibson guy. On Sisters and Brothers, there were one or two where I did a Telecaster. Amp wise, I'm a huge fan of Benson amps. He's an amp builder out of Portland, and he basically makes old Fender style amps. I've got, I think, 3 of his in a rotary speaker. And then pedal wise, pretty straightforward. I just have a song or two I want some tremolo, a song that needs a rotary, and then a wah, and then maybe a little bit of edge. I'm kind of looking not real fuzzy, not super distortion. So kind of a Gibson guy. I kind of trade through different ones depending on the show.
And you're with the Fender sound.
Yeah, amp wise, it's definitely in the Fender camp. I mean, I've done some. I've got a Germino, which is like the old non-master volume Marshalls from the 60s, which I love, but I'm really kind of a Fender amp guy by basically people that make Fender amps the way Fender amps were made in probably the early 60s.
So I'm a dummy, and I did not have like what is my main guitar right now. So I've generally on the last 3 records and 1 EP that I've recorded, it's almost exclusively been a Fender Custom Shop Strat, which is upstairs next to my bed where it belongs, because I play it anytime I sit down on the bed. I want to play that guitar. The other main guitar that I've been tracking with is this guy.
Oh, nice.
And it just, the sound of this thing blows me away. It sounds so good without overloading it with gain, which my instinct is to just turn up the gain until it is just like righteous and a little bit scary. which is like if Chance wasn't there, kind of lending a cleaner, not really so much clean, but like there's more definition a lot of the time to what Chance is doing. So when I hit a big chord and you just hear like va, you actually hear, you know, the notes when Chance plays it. So that's one way that we fill out each other's sound really well. And when I started this pandemic Quarren trilogy, I did an amp shootout with all of the amps that I have, and that includes like I have a 65 Fender Deluxe Reverb. It's not a reissue. It's my ex-father-in-law had it in his attic, and he was trying to sell it at a yard sale for $25.
What?
And some kids were trying to talk him down to 15. And I took it off of his hands.
That is crazy.
And had the whole thing like recapped and new tubes, and that thing just wails. But it's been on every record I've done for 12 years until this year. I've got an Acorn amplifier. I've got a couple of Acorn. I've got 3 Acorn amps as I'm looking over the top of this laptop. But the main one is a prototype Gainesville Acorn amp. It's 30 watts, and instead of it being more like this guy, it's like a blues breaker shape. And I keep on telling them they need to put that one into production. Maybe not in 2020, but ASAP, because this thing, I don't have an amp that sounds better than it. So I just left a mic on it, and I tried other amps as I was recording these last few records. Nothing ever beat it. Like to me, it's got the golden hammer of tone, clarity, fidelity, and like just the righteous vibe. And both of these guitars that I've been talking about just sound really, really fun through it. And I was just holding that Les Paul, but Chance kind of brought this to my attention that like last time we did a show, it was kind of a lot of Stratocaster, fuzz face, wah pedal, tremolo bar stuff going on. And he was like, "You really seem to have bonded with that Strat." And I was like, "I guess so," because that setup has kind of become my my voice for soloing these days. Like, I mean, obviously the Les Paul there plays awesome, but that Strat kind of brings out something else in me that's even more primal, and really I get in touch with it very quickly. Storm is raging upstairs.
It's making the children wild.
So what year's that Les Paul?
It's a 59 reissue, so it's newish.
Yeah, looks nice and worn though.
Yeah,
it has a nice look to it.
Yeah, and normally I don't like things that are super duper flamey. I like stuff that's understated, but it's
at first when I saw it, I guess the reflection looked funny. It looks more than I thought it looked, but it looked old. Now
it's getting some use. I don't know about where, but it's definitely getting some use. Yeah.
So those Acorn amps, are they more a British feel or American?
I have used Oranges, Fenders, Marshalls, and it to me it's kind of between a Fender and a Marshall. Does that sound right, Chance?
Yeah, they're very, and they actually make a ton of different stuff. I have a 100-watt head of theirs that's fantastic. That's very Marshall-y. It's just the L34s. They're very chameleon-esque, I guess I would say, that they can carry a bunch of different voices. So kind of mid-British American.
That sounds right.
Sort of like America, like 1775.
Yeah, there we go. It's a very colonial amp.
It's a very colonial. Still a lot of British influence, but has almost independence. Anyway. Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
So influences on, I know you, I read some stuff about this last album, what your influences were on that, but overall, what is some of the biggest influences you guys put into your music, you think?
So, just from a songwriting point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're trying to be original in yourself, right? But
oh, sure. My thing is trying to combine enough influences to where it's more interesting than listening to a cover band, or that awkward feeling when you realize that, like, I thought I was listening to this one band and it turns out that it's this other band that sounds exactly like them. That kind of I get chills of embarrassment from that kind of thing. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to shame anybody that doesn't, because, good Lord, if you told me that I could get another new Led Zeppelin record from a young lineup every year or two, I would be like, I mean, that's, sign me up.
right.
So I started out listening to Zeppelin and the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I would hope that my influences as a songwriter are much more varied than those basic building blocks, which I find like it's super important and infinitely inspiring. But at the same time, like, what is more interesting to me is throwing in, some big star, power pop hooks, having a little bit of like Matthew Sweet in there. And then also, like, I pillage Motorhead pretty relentlessly, at least once a record. I mean, I don't know about like being a huge influence, but the MC5 are certainly a big part of my life. And I tend to think about, what would Wayne Kramer do if he were in my shoes and trying to write something about this? Not because I think that that's like the right thing to do, but it gets me out of a dead end sometimes. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I gave you like at least some of my building blocks there. Like, Tom Petty and Cheap Trick are always going to figure pretty heavily as songwriting influences for the Pinx. This time out, Sloan, that Canadian band, one of my favorite bands, that came up as an influence this time, very interestingly, and partly thanks to Chance. But and Chance is bringing in some really interesting influences on the new record that we're working on now. Why don't you talk about that a little bit, Chance?
Sure. So I grew up in my older sister's boyfriend put headphones on we were driving home from my grandparents and put on Are You Experienced by Jimi Hendrix. And that's sort of, I was like 13 or something. That changed my perspective. And I suddenly wanted to play guitar. So I was huge into Hendrix. Later, as a late teen, and then probably the guitarist that has informed me the most and influenced me the most by far has been Jimmy Page. His playing, but really mainly his writing and his orchestration, his compositions. Playing wise, I mean, I probably sound or stole the most of my riffs and licks from kind of country jazz rock player who was around in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s named Danny Gatton. And then I probably play a lot of riffs that Peter Frampton played. He was just a brilliant guitar player. I also
and nice guy.
Yeah. You've met him. I've gone through a lot of country music phases, so I think there's sort of some elements I bring in from there. But in the latest record, I mean, I think we're kind of branching out. We've got this sort of big epic song coming along I'm pretty excited about. That's very much I'm starting to get into some alternate tunings and stuff like that. So it's really fun. It's really fun to sort of expand out and just see where something leads us. So
we're trying to do away with some of our tried and true rules on this one. And it's fun searching for like not just doing the easiest, most obvious thing, but actually trying to follow the muse.
Right.
The-
I mean, you just came out with an album, and I struggle just trying to write one song yet. I can't. I mean, you guys just put out that album, and it's unbelievable. I can't. You know, you're already working on another one. That's just.
Well, thank you. We don't have a whole lot else to do as a band, but I mean, there's the other. It's probably time to talk about this element. So I have not only issues with migraines, but also with depression and anxiety, like probably a lot of your viewers and listeners. And when the lockdown started, a lot of people were, very freaked out and didn't know what to think yet, hadn't made up their minds yet, whether it was real or whether it was BS, and they were going to get really mad about everything. But either way, everybody was pretty fearful. And in spite of the fact that awful things were happening all around me, I went, okay, so what do I want to do now that I'm not driving around Atlanta sitting in rush hour traffic all day? And I said, I'm going to beat a video game. And I beat Earthbound. And then the next day I was like, okay, so I have been wanting to record. And I went down into the studio and I recorded a song. I wrote it as I was playing it. And I just started on another song that afternoon. And when I went up to go to bed, I felt like really okay. Like I did, the depression was nowhere to be found. The anxiety was all the way down. And I said, I think I know what I'm going to be doing for lockdown. And I finished a record in about 7 days. And it went by too fast for people to like really even guessed on it. The day that I was uploading the record to put it out, I got an email from Wayne Kramer of the MC5, as I mentioned earlier, saying, I hope it isn't too late, but here's my guitar solo. And it was a little too late. So there's one version of it that doesn't have him and another version that does. And then I took a couple of days off because I was like, hell yeah, I did a record. And that second morning, the depression was overwhelming. And instead of fighting it, I just went right back into the studio and started on a completely different project that was supposed to sound totally different and bring out a totally different side of me. And this is my medicine. Like really, honestly, it's writing and recording music is better for me than anything else that I know of for mental health issues. And people have gotten kind of mad at me or jealous of the amount of music that's coming out of me. I'm just like, this is weird. This is weird to me that this much music is coming out of me, and is there something wrong with me? Like I was kind of asking around, like, do you know it, like anybody else has had anything like this happen? And the general answer was like, no, shut up. Keep doing what you're doing. It doesn't matter if it's weird. It's working. You should keep on doing it.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, if it's your release, everybody has a release, and you found yours, obviously, and it's working for you.
I've been doing it since I was, I had got a 4-track when I was 15. And, so as a teenager, I was just in my room, like when I didn't have a drum kit, I had like a couple of drumsticks, like beating on the carpet. And that's, it just sounds like really muted drums. And, that was fun, meditative, contemplative times for me as a depressed teenager, whose best friend had just died. And that's where I went. So pandemic 2020 hits and I kind of went into the same mode. Like, this is what I do. So I'm going to do it.
Right. Well, it sounds like you'll have a lot of material in the future then. Or
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe.
Hope so.
Here's a little odd question. Does Chance play with a full beer bottle in a la Danny? Was it
Danny
Gatton?
Gatton. Yeah, that's a great question. Danny was this brilliant player. In fact, Steve Vai was asked, well, or whatever, who's the greatest guitar player in the world? He said, there's really not an answer to that, but if there was, it would be Danny Gatton. He was this, could play just any style of the same song: bluegrass, rockabilly, rock, jazz, country. And he had this thing when he would play live. He could play plenty of instruments as well, lap steel guitar, I think, as well. And he would take a few swigs of a beer and then use it as a slide all up and down the neck. So on like a 52 Telly also. So like some priceless guitar. No, I've never actually done that. But that's a Danny Gatton fan who would know that right there. So
Right?
yeah.
All right. Well, here's a fun question from me. What is the funniest thing that's ever happened on stage?
Man.
I
There's
should
kind
say
of too many funny things have happened on stage, period, for me to consider like one specifically. Chance, does I have a fallback if you can't think of one, Chance.
No, go ahead. I'll think while you're telling yours. I don't know.
Oh.
I can't think of one.
Oh Lord. Okay, so I'm gonna tell one of the Macon stories then.
Okay.
I'm sure that we've got like some funnier stories, but as I'm getting older, I'm finding that like a lot of the stuff that I took for granted that I thought, would be like that time in Savannah or that time in Nashville. Like it's at this point when the Facebook memories pop up, I'm like, oh yeah, oh my God, I forgot about that one. But so you guys like drugs? This is a drug story. So we had taken not Chance. You will find Chance does not do that. Chance has some other cool ways to party, but not drugs. So we had taken mushrooms, which I had tested the night before and found that roughly a third of a chocolate was a dose, and that we would be absolutely fine if that's how much we took. So we were setting up and sound checking, and we split a chocolate. And within just a few minutes, we were starting to feel it, which is not normal. Like normally it's like half an hour should go by. So we're already getting confused. And after the second song, we had to take a break. We had to take a set break after 2 songs, go back into the bathroom and go, I think doing a good show is completely out of the question at this point. Let's do what we do in the rehearsal space and just have a good time. And we were about 2/3 of the way through the show, loosely doing the set list that we had laid out in front of us. And we get to a part in the song and the drums stop. My eyes are completely closed though, so that I can concentrate on what I'm doing. And I'm like, that was an interesting drumming choice. And as I'm wrapping up singing the bridge to this song, I feel stubble right up against the side of my face. And our drummer goes, hey man, just keep on playing. I didn't know that he was standing right there next to me, or that he was going to be pressing his stubble against my face. And I turn around and he has his kick drum and he's turning it around because he's broken the batter side. And right at the downbeat of the end of the bridge, when we kick into the next chorus, suddenly he's ready to go. Boom. And I don't know. That cracked me up because in my head, so many levels of understanding what was happening were going on. I mean, we've had the power go out on us while we were playing a bunch of times with sometimes comical results. We've had people get up on stage and mess with us with sometimes comical results. We've had guys hop up on stage and yell stuff that got them kicked out of the show immediately. Back in the day, I would get drunk and jump up on stage with the other bands that we were playing with, whether they wanted me on stage with them or not. But yeah, so no more alcohol for me because frankly, I'm a better, more tuned in frontman when I have my wits about me.
That's pretty funny though.
Ha
All right.
Yeah, I don't have any way to top that. So.
All right. Your number one album. If you only could have one album, what would it be?
Someone else's work, right?
Yeah.
Electric Ladyland, Hendrix's double record. Because there's
nice.
he recorded over, I don't know, a while. I mean, he had a very brief period. A bunch of different musicians in so many different styles, from experimental psychedelia to almost funk to just straight rock and roll to, I mean, everything he knew how to do. That would be it. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. I've got favorite records of every subgenre that I like, there's probably one record that I played more than any other record, and it's probably Jellyfish's Spilt Milk. That is a pop rock masterpiece. Like, you would think that I would like something with some more guitar heroics on it, but to me, Lyle Workman's melodic guitar solos and John Bryan's melodic guitar solos on that record are badass enough for me to just fall in love with it as a guitarist. But I have played drums along with that record hundreds of times. I've learned the bass lines on it. I've tried to learn all the harmonies on it. And the reason why I'm naming it right now is that I'm not done learning everything on it. And that came out in 1993. That record must have, 128 tracks on each song. It's just very, very thickly produced. It's big but tight drum sounds. Wonderful melodic, super present bass. And the guys that made that record joke all the time about how there's so many flubs on it, but it's an intimidatingly perfect record to me. And the songs are fantastic.
That's great. All right, last question. What is your favorite venue to play? Or is that a heated question?
It's pretty easy for me. Chance, you want to go ahead?
In terms of local clubs, I love 529 since it's been redesigned. I haven't played there. I've only played there once actually, but Variety Playhouse was a big rewarding experience for me. So in terms of local places, I love that place.
For local places, that's definitely same answers for me. If we're gonna go international, I'm gonna add O2 Shepherd's Bush in London. That place was. It's the interior of that building is a work of art, and to stand there on a stage where so many ridiculous things have happened, like Monty Python filmed on that stage. I think Charlie Chaplin performed on that stage. Pretty sure that Zeppelin played on that stage. It's the pedigree of that place is just ridiculous. It's a little smaller than Royal Albert Hall, but it's an ornate, gorgeous work of art that just sounds fantastic. And I'd be I'd be dumb to not mention it.
Yeah, I mean it's like once in a lifetime thing, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
no doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Hopefully not once.
Well, tell us how people can stream your stuff and get a hold of you, and obviously people aren't playing right now.
Well, people are going to need to leave me alone first off. Just kidding. If you have questions, come to us with them. You can a quick Google of the Pinx, Pinx, on YouTube will help you find our channel. You can look up the Pinx on Facebook. We also have a fan group on Facebook for anybody that absolutely falls in love with this, called the Pinx Rock. You can find us on Spotify with a pretty easy search. We've got some great playlists up, and if you're checking us out, I got to be honest, Chance's new jazz record is electric fantastic. I've got 2 new records out in the last few months, with another one coming in a few weeks, and none of that means that we're getting distracted. The Pinx are hard at work on the Pinx 4 right now. It's, if all goes well, it's going to be a double album.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, how many albums do you have right now?
It'll be 4, and we've got 2 EPs now. So far there's 3 albums and 2 EPs.
Okay, I wasn't sure because of the EPs.
How do you count EPs?
Yeah.
Like they count as releases, in my mind, but you wouldn't count singles. But
This
an
last-
EP is a bit more.
Yeah.
It's a half album.
Well, I really enjoy your music, and I really appreciate you guys coming on here.
Thank
with
you
me.
for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for raising the rock flag. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm kind of a rock nerd, but or just music nerd altogether. But I will include all your links and stuff in the info down below, the summary.
Much appreciated.
And if I miss any, just send me what I missed, and I'll include that.
Our manager Juliet would probably say I should have said the website, www.thepinxrock.com. And you can find everything else from there.
Well, I appreciate everything, and I'll keep following you guys. And
all right,
maybe you guys can come back on with me another time.
Happy to. Thank you, Priscilla,
Yes.
for that comment. We appreciate that.
Thank you all very much.
All right,
Thank
talk
you.
to you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Bye.